video is brought to you by BenQ. More on that later in the video.
Alright, welcome back to MGM. I'm Jimmy. Today we're going to be painting House Cawdor, the spiritual religious group of Necromunda. This cult of zealots is forever loyal to the Emperor's cause, forbidden from showing their faces in public, and as such wear masks, and do not hesitate to purify heretics, xenos, and mutants with fire. Now, keep in mind that this is painting for the average Joes, not painting for the average pros. There are a ton of great channels out there that feature airbrushing and excellent ways to paint your models. That's just not what we're about here. These tutorials are more aimed at beginners and really to help people get into the hobby and get those gray models painted up to a nice tabletop standard and something that you can be proud of on the table. So please keep that in mind. But without further ado, let's get into painting.
Now, House Cawdor are well known for their reds and blues. We're going to be using some muted down colors today, and we'll be painting up this particular Ganger that you see here. I start off with a primer of just Rustoleum Grey. It's a great inexpensive primer, sticks very well, and gives you a nice even coverage to start with. And that first color we are going to go with is going to be our Vallejo Terracota. And this is going to be a red-brown type color. I wanted to avoid that vibrant red color that you do see a lot of. We'll be painting this color on the tunic piece, if that's what you want to call it. You don't have to be very careful here, just work your way around the model, getting that top piece, as well as the bottom. And after a few thin coats, you'll get to a nice even coverage that you see here. And now we're going to use a Vallejo Iraqi Sand, and we are going to work on the wraps. And again, you don't have to be careful here, as this covers the majority of his legs, arms, as well as the torso area. We will be applying all of the base colors, so if you happen to spill over anywhere else, it'll be very easy to tidy up just using that original base color. Also, don't be afraid to use other colors or whatever colors you have. On some of my gangers, I use bone white on the wraps just to give some variation. No matter what color you choose, this will definitely take you at least 2 thin coats to get a nice even coverage. And with that done, we're going to move on to the blues, and I'm using a more toned down type of blue, and I went with the Fang because this is what I have available. I do paint some Space Wolves from time to time. And I thought this would be a nice kind of toned down blue versus something more bright. So using the Fang, we want to get some of the over pieces that are on his tunic, as well as the cloth that is hanging down. While we've got this paint on our palette, we will also want to get the mask as well. And you can paint the mask with a variety of colors. Some of my mask will be that terracotta color, and some will be this blue Fang color. Again, remember to give some variation to your gang. Some of my tunics will be this blue Fang color, while others terracotta. Some are half and half, and I do switch up the colors a lot just to provide some variation. But moving on, we are going to get Vallejo Leather Brown, and we are going to block in these boots. There's also some additional clothing type of areas that are under the garments that we painted blue and the terracotta color. So I'm going to pick them out with this leather brown as well. You could use a black here, you could use a gray, you could use any color that you wanted. And with that step complete, the model's starting to take some shape. We will move on to a Vallejo Gunmetal Grey, and we're going to pick out some of the silver areas, including this little bit on the knee, as well as the gun he carries, and there's also a piece on top of the grenade that I may miss in this tutorial, but I come back and get that. With those silver areas complete, we'll now move on to some skin tones, and I start with a Vallejo Tan Earth. This just is kind of my mixture. If you were in the Games Workshop range and the Citadel range, you would use Bugman's Glow here as your base coat. But just going through with Vallejo Tan Earth, giving that a nice even base coat. It will be kind of tough to get into some of these areas on the face if you've already assembled the model. I just can't help myself. I have to assemble and then paint. But with a steady hand, if you mess up, just feel free to touch up with the previous color. You'll also note that there will be some places on the arms and legs that you can highlight in this color to just show some skin that is showing through the wraps. Moving to the next step, we will paint the bottle, or the grenade that's in his hand. You can paint this whatever color you want. I just happen to have some Skarsnik Green laying here beside me. Probably not the best paint to use, as it is a layer paint and not a base paint. It does go on pretty thin, so it takes a few coats to get a nice even coverage. But yeah, just use whatever color you want to make that bottle, and feel free to slap that on. I guess my ganger will be tossing a Heineken bottle at someone. But next we're going to move on to Vallejo German Grey, and this is not a straight black color, it is more of like a charcoal. You can make the hair whatever color you like. It could be brown, it could be like a yellow blonde kind of color, it could be red. I went with the black on this one. And getting some of the final base coats done, I used Vallejo Beige Brown. And I'm going to get the rope that goes around his neck and shoulder area, as well as the straps that are holding his gun together. You could easily use leather brown for these straps and any other lighter color for the rope, just trying to give it some variation. Tan earth would be good here as well. Also, don't forget, on many of these models there will be a strap going down the middle of the head that is holding the mask on, as well as the sides. And those can be easily overlooked. But our next color is going to be Vallejo Bone White, and we're going to use this color to get this bone that is around his shin, as well as get some of the parchment or paper that is hanging from the rope. And with that dry, you are now at the perfect point to look the model over and tidy up any mistakes. You can see where I made some here, and I'll go back in with my terracotta color to clean that up. Often it's hard to get your brush angle right to get into some of these nooks and crannies without spilling over onto something else, but again, at this point, it's absolutely no problem. It is very easy to fix. And with that complete, we are ready to shade this model, and I've selected Citadel's Agrax Earth Shade, which is a brown wash. It will make this model look a bit dirty and bring all of these colors together. Load up your brush and just cover the entire model with this, being sure to get it into all of the recessed details while wiping it away from flatter panel areas. And when you're done, it is going to look something like this, and you can see it is really bringing those details out. While this wash dries, it's a perfect time to talk about our sponsor today, BenQ. Now, this lamp has made me want to move into a new hobby space, and I have upstairs. This BenQ e-reading desk lamp has really changed my perspective on lighting in general for miniature painting. BenQ was kind enough to send me a review copy, and after painting with it a few weeks, I can say it's an incredible hobby lamp. I plan to do a full review of this lamp in the near future, comparing it to what I was using previously. I think it's pretty awesome that BenQ has recognized our hobby space as a growing focus area, and hopefully you do too. My hobby space is also my workspace, and this lamp arm swings for easy positioning, allows me to adjust vertical and even horizontal angling. There's an adjustable knob that adjusts color, temperature, and brightness, going from cooler and brighter light for work and warmer and dimmer settings for a more relaxed feel. The light covers over 35 inches of workspace, which easily covers my entire hobby mat. It's extremely sturdy, allowing you to adjust with one hand, and it looks great on my desk. This is the first official project I've used this lamp on, and I'm really looking forward to using it in future projects. I'll put some links down below, including an Amazon affiliate link, so you can do some research on your own. For me, this was a major upgrade, and it is a very high-quality, multi-purpose hobby lamp. Alright, with that wash complete, we can really see the definition in this model, and if you wanted to stop here, I think you would still have something very nice to put on the table and a quick and easy way to paint up your Cawdor gang. However, we are going to do some highlights to really bring this model back to life with a little bit of color. And we'll start by going back to our base color, which was our Terracota, and we're just going to be looking to do an edge highlight here along the edges and also on the flatter areas where light would be hitting the miniature. In this and future steps, you will want to try to avoid the recessed areas where that wash has settled. This is quick and easy to give some tonal variation to the miniature. And with that complete, we'll move to our next color, which is the Fang. This was our base color that we used on some of the cloth as well as the mask. And using the same method here, let's just touch on these edges, as well as giving some to the flatter areas, trying to avoid where that wash has settled in the recesses. On the mask, you want to pay attention to the pointier parts, such as the nose, the cheekbone, as well as above the eyes. And when that is dry, we can go through with one more sharp edge highlight, and for this one we're going to be using Russ Gray, just because this is kind of a normal step up in the Space Wolf color using the Fang and then Russ Gray, so I thought I would use it here. You can use whatever blue and whatever highlight color you would like, but we're just going to be going through using the side of our brush and really trying to get a sharp edge onto the blues. And with the blues highlighted, we're going to move back to our beige brown, and for this one we're actually going to be using it as a highlight color. I do like to reuse colors whenever possible to try to keep the amount of paints that I have to a minimum. But anything that we did in that leather brown, we are going to go through and give an edge highlight to this. This would include some of those undergarments as well as the boots. You will also want to give an edge highlight to the straps that are holding the gun as well. You can also use this beige brown color to give little highlights to the rope that he is wearing. And when painting the rope with a highlight, you want to try to stay to the top as possible, being very quick and deliberate in your brush strokes. If you do happen to make a mistake and get into the recesses, it's pretty easy to cover. Just go back with your Agrax Earthshade and it will cover that mistake up, and most of your highlight will still be intact. Now we move to the skin, and there's not a whole lot on this model, but I'm going to paint this the same way that I do a lot of my other skin, using Vallejo Game Color Dwarf Skin, and I'm going to cover about 90% of where the skin is, leaving about 10% of that tan earth as a shade. When painting skin, you want to start towards the top where light would be hitting and kind of work your way down to about 90% on this first highlight. And with a nice steady hand, you'll get through that in no time. We're then going to go to a Vallejo model color. This is Dark Skin, and I'm going to be applying a highlight, this time going over about 75% of the skin, leaving some of that dwarf skin around just as a transition. Going to be focusing on the fingers, avoiding the recesses, getting the tops of the hands. And again, if you have a lot of skin on the model, you'll start at the top and kind of just work your way down, almost kind of blending that together. The final highlight on the skin tones is going to be Vallejo Flat Flesh, and you will put this on the highest pieces of the miniature, the knuckles. If his face was showing, this is where you would pick out the nose and cheekbones, and the things that are really standing out on the flesh areas. Now this next highlight is completely optional, depends on how dirty you like your wraps on these models. I bring in some Vallejo Bone White and just give some random highlights to different wraps just to simulate light hitting the folds. And now let's go in and highlight that gunmetal up, and for this I just use Vallejo Natural Steel. Going through on this one and just picking out some higher parts and edge highlighting the gun that he uses. You could also use a dry brush here and get a really good effect as well. For the last highlight, I used Vallejo World War II German Field Gray, and you can use whatever gray you have that is a step up. If you use black hair and just go through, give some random highlights to that hair to simulate light hitting it. And with that, our model is complete. So with this fighter complete, House Cawdor is ready for Season 4 of our Necromunda campaign that will be coming soon. I would like to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my 2022 Coffee Supporters Club. Your names are on the screen now. Can't wait to get more Necromunda content out for you guys. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.